first I was interested in like the FBI. That's over here, obviously.
Yeah.
But then I was also interested in like being a therapist. So I don't know which path.
Okay, you
I like
definitely
them equally.
need a social work license to do therapy. But the good thing is you've only done 1 year of school,
Oh yeah.
right? So our suggestion is it won't take you any more time if you want to do therapy. And you can do both criminal justice and the 10 classes in social work in 120 hours. And just double major. It does sound like a lot, but you will ultimately you'll have the choices. Well, that's the thing. It won't be any more than this right here. It really won't, because you'll have. You know what? I have criminal justice scanned in for you. Have you ever seen your check sheet for criminal justice?
Mm-mm.
Okay, let's do that then. Because I know we have other CRJ members. And where are we? So obviously you don't have to do this, but I just want you to know all of your options. You can do whatever you want. I wish somebody had told me this when I was an undergrad, so I always start out with the story. And Dropbox should be under D. Okay, there it is. So here's what your criminal justice sheet looks like. Oh wait, you're criminal justice too, aren't you? Psych. Okay. So on this day, I scanned. Gosh, what day was that? Was yesterday the 31st?
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, I scanned all the criminal justice sheets into here, but I'm just not sure if I ever found it. Okay, that's it, right? Here's psychology. So you've done all of your psychologies, right? And you need 124 to graduate, or is it 120? 24. Dang, you guys have to do a lot. This one is criminal justice. So have you already done like some of these? Like you probably are. So like math, English, soc, things that we already take in social work. The other thing she told me too, this is interesting. Did you know that criminal justice also has a minor? I didn't know that. Here's your minor. You just I don't know, but that's all you have to take. So if I rotate, let's see if I can rotate it for you. That's all you need is 24 hours in Crim J. Have you already taken CRJ 2210, 2310?
The only one I've taken so far is intro to criminal justice.
Okay. That's probably this one then. And then, yeah, if you just take those, oh yeah, you already have to take one of those for social work anyway. So anyway, you have options. I was saying the same. What's your major again? I ask everybody their major.
Social work.
So how are you doing on your little check sheet that we have here, like this? Those are all. What's that? I could send it to you. You want me to send it to you? I might have to do it after class, but did you take 30 hours last semester? Or last year, I guess. So, okay, are you also social work? Brand new. So as long as you guys do, has somebody already told you this? That's what we need to graduate. That's your magic number. So 120 hours, you're taking 15 right now or 16 right now?
I'm taking 14.
Okay, so next semester take 16. You'll be balanced out. So as long as you take an average of 15 every semester and do the things on this sheet, you're good to go. Like this side and the non-social work classes. So if you send me an email saying, can I please have a check sheet? I'll send it right back to you guys. Will that work for you? Okay, cool. So that's kind of our breakdown of, I know it sometimes can get old seeing this over and over and over again, but I'll tell you how many students junior and senior year say, oh,
It helps.
right. So you know which ones to take. If you take the right ones, you only have to take 120 hours is actually only 40 classes or 5 every semester. Done. Qualifies you for a master's degree in social work that's only 1 year, 36 hours. Whereas my psychology degree, I had to take, he already had me give this spiel on Monday or Tuesday, right? I had to take 67 hours to get a master's of social work because I had a psychology degree. If you get a bachelor's of social work, you only have to take 1 year, you're done. So you graduate twice in May, 1 year apart. If you went to UC, you graduate April 30th. But so that is my soapbox. You guys are already all social work, right? Cool. And then I tell folks, psychology, crim J, this is so much similar that you can double without having to take more than 40 classes anyway. You just got to make sure to take the right ones and you're done. So that's all. How's everybody highs and lows of the week so far today? Is it? What is the temp out there?
It's hot.
It's like 80.
Is it? I got to go pick all those apples by the stadium before they fall. There's a lot of apples.
Is that what you're
There's like 2 or 3 of them around campus.
Yeah.
They're like green apples. So, all right, so you guys are on. Oh, yeah, so make sure to get your paper. That's always helpful. And then we were crushing through like some of PowerPoint 3 and 4. That was it. About like ecosystems perspective and whatnot. Finishing with that. Anybody have any questions about social work book, intro to social work chapter? Jalen Amos signed in. Cool. All right. So finishing up with ecosystems perspective. You guys see everything we try to do as social workers. In undergrad, we try to teach you how to do every kind of social work possible. You can only get like a clinical therapist license by getting a master's, but if you get a BSW, it's 1 year for a master of social work. That's always exciting. And does anybody know which week we're on this week right now of school?
33.
Is it week 3? Damn. Okay. Doesn't it seem like it's flying? Or does it seem like it's going really, really, really slow? As fast? Right.
Damn.
Since when? Why is that? Oh, okay. So you guys had to do like conditioning and exercises and all that type of stuff?
Yeah.
Like 2-a-days?
That's what it was.
Right.
It was like camp. I don't know what that means. What's 2 days?
2-a-days usually is
Practice 2 times.
morning and nighttime.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. I never knew I had a PowerPoint on walls. I'm serious.
You didn't know that you had
I get so many files shared, like social workers share so many files all the time.
Did you make it?
We just share them and like, I didn't know that all 50 states have statutes outlawing stalking behavior. Do you? Okay. So federal anti-stalking statutes, whoever travels across a state line within a maritime or territorial jurisdiction of the U.S. with the intent to injure or harass. Because we had Russian exchange students. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I get
scared.
I know.
It's what we say.
It's
what we say.
it's when I talk, it shows up because we had students in class that spoke Russian as a primary language.
That's dope. I know of the Russians.
Right.
One of them.
Right. Yeah, they're still here. I didn't realize we still had some. I thought they went home. So yeah. I could try to turn it off. Is it annoying?
No.
Okay. It's just scary. Like, do we have the Russian spying on us or something? Okay. So harass is a key good word there though too, because injure is one thing. Harass can be a lot of things. Or place them in reasonable fear of death or GBI to that person or a member of that person's immediate family shall be punished as provided by a 5-year minimum sentence. Shoot, see, that's what happens when, oh, here we go. It tells me over on the side. Only a couple of prosecutions ever. Also to be aware of federal interstate domestic violence statute and an interstate violation of protective order. I feel like it's something similar to death. Great bodily injury. Does that sound right? Great bodily injury.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I had to think for a minute. I'm like, what is like death, but not death? Great bodily injury. So you do need this one for real?
I mean, I don't need it for real.
Okay. So there is a National Violence Against Women survey in 1998 that was, those are the two authors, Tajen and Tahome's, the National Sexual Victimization of College. So there you go. That's specific to you guys. What's that?
It's a college for.
So that is study, either study or stats.
Okay, all right.
The Women's Survey or the Femicide Survey. So you can look those up. Like we always like to cite our things. That's kind of an example for you guys when you like write your papers. You're like, where'd that come from? It came from here. And I always go to just scholar.google.com. It shows you how to cite the crap. I would have never gotten through grad school without it.
What is it?
Scholar, what?
Oh, scholar.google.com. It's Google Scholar, but the actual web address is scholar.google.com for Google Scholar. Have you seen how to cite that way? Because for your papers, it might help. If you would like me to show you, I will happily show you.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm terrible at studies.
Right. So go to, well, here it is. Look, hey, Google Scholar. Femicide. What does it define?
Femicide?
Yeah.
It says a hate crime broadly defined as the intentional killing of women or girls because they're female.
Like serial killers. You know,
Like,
Oh, like
have you ever watched The Silence of the Lambs?
no.
A little bit.
What's that?
A little bit.
Yes, that dude.
I watched that, and he dressed up as the woman.
Well, yeah, he was killing all the women to cut their skin out, and he made a bodysuit out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a psychopath, sociopath. So if you go to Scholar, when you start to publish, you'll get something here. But say you want to cite my last report, you know, not to show off any of our stuff, but you guys do want to see that your teachers publish, actually, right? Hey, look.
Oh,
So if you cite this, you just click cite, and here it is. I wrote that with Dr. Carlia Harris. And when you cite within the paper, you would just do this, Harris and Trouth 2020. At the end of the paper, you do all of it, copy, paste, end of the paper. So easy. Like, I wish I had this when I was an undergraduate. I wouldn't have taken 6 years in undergraduate.
I'm gonna use it.
Yes, please use Google Scholar. I like it. Some people might say, oh, but they're not appropriate. citations or exact citations. Then they give you related articles. So if you're doing research like, I want to be a social worker, what does that mean? How much can I get paid? What are the deals? You can even just click on, we did a study for behaviorally challenged youth. And if you want to cite those, so yeah, there it is again. Just cite, or you want to do the second one, cite. So I'll go off on tangents, but that's how you want to like write the papers and be like, it came from here, and you can even download it and own a copy of it in your Google Drive. So they're like, is that article real? You'll be like, yeah, here it is. I got it in my Google Drive. Femicide. Is that the slide we're on? Femicide? Anybody ever heard of femicide? Never have I ever. That's weird. Okay. Femicide. So there's a big connection between domestic violence and stalking. Does that need to be explained, or does that make sense to you guys? So it's just controlling behaviors, and maybe there's also a connection between stalking and sexual assault, especially clear in campus study. Stalking is a huge risk factor for homicide. Stalking affects millions of people, so it can seem like you're all alone. Here's the definition. Any person who engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific person, which places that person or their family in reasonable fear of their safety, for their safety, or commits the crime of stalking. Did that one make sense? Okay. Feel free to stop me if you have a question. Stalking is a course of conduct. Stalking behavior has to be viewed with the context of that course of conduct. What is stalking? Oh, that's the next slide. Each state defines stalking a little differently. So some of them are like, oh, he called you 100 times. That's just not harassment. Other states would be like, dude, that's like assault, like harassment. That's annoying. So each state could have it defined differently. I don't know how they would define it in other countries. Do you think they have one in?
See, I thought originally that stalking was just like you physically like watch. So I didn't know.
Okay, like voyeurism, when you're trying to watch them through the window. I can see that. That would be a form. You can, as some people send threats, and so you become scared, and that's true domestic violence. So we would say to call domestic violence shelter. Jade Washington is here. Okay, cool. Any person who, I already read all those, sorry. Stalking behaviors. So followed, spied on, there you go. That's like spied on is a piece of it. That's one of the behaviors. Stood outside home or work, 82%. So yeah, 82% of the time, that's what they do. It could be semi-non-violent, but it's still kind of weird, right? You know what I mean? Like why you got to do that shit? Like, you got a tracking device on my car. Like, there's new technology now that's creepy. They have, what is it called?
There's like, Apple came out with like these tags that like you can leave in someone's car and it tracks them.
Oh, I saw those, and I didn't know what the hell those were. Because they're only like $5.
You can't even notice it's in your car.
Right. What?
Why? What Apple tags are for is like
kids.
Put them on your keys. So like if you lose your keys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but it can be used for creepy ass shit. Okay. Made or unwanted phone calls. There you go. 61%. Sent unwarranted letter, and that left unwanted item. So like, even if you're bringing like freaking chocolates or flowers, you know what I mean? Like, well, that was nice, but yeah and no. Like, that's also creepy, dude. It's like, if it's unwanted, so it's unwanted is the key. Right. Vandalized property, 30%. Killed or threatened to kill a pet. Yeah. Right. That's creepy. So that's the study conducted by the Center for Policy Research. Here's the stalker demographic profile. 87% males. So my type and breed is the worst. Mostly white. Well, it doesn't say the percentage. Say male, 87%, white, between the ages of 18 and 35, above average intelligence. So, do you guys know what average? Huh?
Is this like, is all this data taken like internationally, or is it just America?
This is just America.
Okay.
So sorry. That's
No, you're fine.
so sorry. That's
No, you're fine.
know what average intelligence is? You guys know that, right? Like an IQ. What would your IQ be if you were average intelligence?
I don't know.
7. I don't know.
So it's cool because let's see if I can write for you. A little above. Okay, so let's say you guys ever heard of IQs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it sucks.
Like,
So most people actually below here is considered retarded.
oh,
And that's 2 standard deviations from the mean. And then if you go this way, this is 1 standard deviation from the mean. You'll learn that in stats. 130. That is 2 standard deviations. That's actually genius. So you got retarded, average intelligence, genius.
so where can I go to verify test?
You can go to mensa.com.
Okay.
Mensa gives
Scared. I don't.
You're scared.
It's just about recognizing. Well, that's what patterns are, though. Like, patterns is mathematics, and there. Yeah. So go to Mensa. I'll show you guys.
Yeah.
It's scary, but it's not. I'm sure. And then they say for every year you stay in college, you add a few points onto your IQ.
Hey.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, it's like you.
Right. That was exciting. So here they'll give you a test. If you're Mensa, you're a genius. So you don't have to. It's okay if we're not geniuses, right? It's okay. But if you really wanted to, like, take it and become a member, here it is. I'm sure they charge you tons of money too. So here you go. There it is. You can take it, made by Mensa in Norway. So anyway, that's Mensa. But I make the point clear, what is above average intelligence? What would that be?
But above 100.
Yes, you got it. It could be 100.1. And then they might have a personality or a mental disorder. That's the one last thing on the profile. So what social workers do in these cases, a lot of times we run the domestic violence shelters and help people like hide away. There's one in Xenia, but it's a secret location. Like they don't want people knowing where it is. You know what I mean? So it's secret. Stalking victim demographic profile. Women, 78% young. So it looks like childbearing age, 18 to 39. Young, 74. White, what's that? Married. And that's a good question. What's that?
It's over 50 for married. Wow.
Right. Well, because then, like in the old days, when you married somebody, they became your property too. You know what I mean? So that's probably where, and you asked a good question. Demographics. You know what I mean? So these stats are. I'm sure it happens in other countries. I'm sure that in maybe India, these numbers would look more likely to be an Indian that's a stalker. You know what I mean? In America, I still feel like it's about 55% white. Does that even sound right? You guys know. What's the percentage of?
It sounds right.
Because I remember I'm saying it'll be lower than 50% white, either 2030 or 2050, with like immigration and stuff. What? So it's 61. So that makes sense why those stats are where they are, because this is American survey. But educated, so most of them have like high school and college education. Do you guys know how many people have finished college education in America?
Is it over like 60?
It's like 33%.
Wow.
A finished college degree, 1/3. So like the fact that we're all have gotten into college and could finish college. Tons of people have some college, like they put that, but getting to the finish line is the hardest thing. That's why I always start off class like remember this, 15 every semester on average. If you took 14, it's okay. Take 16 next semester. Or take a summer class. Like, there's tons of options. And we're almost done. Oh, did you see how many slides this was? It's a lot. Are you guys bored yet?
No, just interesting.
All right, so this is one of the social work options to become a domestic violence shelter. This is one of our internships. So like in social work, you can work as an intern at the DV shelter too. So relationship, hello, Andrew Wittenberg. Relationship between the stalker and the victim. Most of the time it's a spouse or partner. So you were like, oh, it's 58% married. Usually you know them. Right.
That's terrible.
It's usually only the serial killers that have no idea.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like acquaintance or stranger, 22%. So acquaintance and stranger are way far off. So does that profile look interesting, or is it like, oh, I don't want toothpicks on old. If they get dry, they're nasty. Okay. Domestic violence stalking. 60% of all cases, among the most dangerous of cases. 30% are all female homicides related to an intimate partner. So almost 2/3 of all the people that died were related or married. Domestic violence victims run a 75% chance, higher risk of being murdered by their partner. Damn. So have you guys ever heard the average number of times partner leaves their partner? Partner leaves their partner? Well, if you were to take a guess, what do you think it would be?
3?
Close, yeah.
Is it more than 3?
4,
Close.
6. Is it 6?
7.
Let me fact check myself. Seven. Freaking 7.
So after 7, right?
A lot of times they like die on the 7. So that's kind of the sad part about it. I feel like it could be more. And obviously, if you did your internship at the DV shelter, they would train you in all this about the honeymoon cycle, the fighting, and then the stalking or whatever. So, damn, how did I just get 20 emails since class started? How much junk do they give you? So there you go. This is a case study. So this dude I think is real. He was 26 when he began stalking. The victim was Jamie, female, white, 21 years old when stalking began. So they're 5 years apart. So she could have been 13 when he was 18. That's a little weird, but 21, they say it should be half your age plus 7 if you're dating somebody. Have you guys ever heard 21? They say it should be half your age plus 7 if you're dating somebody. Have you guys ever heard that? Half your age plus 7?
I've never heard that.
So like if you're 18, 9 plus 7 would be 16. If you're 20, 13 plus 7 is, does that make any sense? If you're 20, you're 17. So half your age. How old are you guys? 20?
18.
So there are some 18, like, you know, you dated like, well, in high school, it would have been like a freshman, no, a sophomore and a senior.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then when you're like 44, oh shit. I can only date a 22 plus 7, a 29-year-old. It's kind of weird. I don't know who came up with that, but that's. So here's this dude. He was a creep. In 2001, he was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide, hiding a corpse. Holy shit. Okay. Wow. See, can you tell this is the first time I'm seeing this PowerPoint too? I forget who shared it with me. Resisting an officer or a officer. I usually don't care, but when I'm saying it out loud, I want to sound that. It sounds wrong too. So Columbia County, Dane County Sheriff, the Forest Police Department, Madison, because he's stalking her all over. Here's the statute. Whoever meets this actor intentionally engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person under the same circumstance to suffer serious emotional distress or fear. What did you say?
It's an actor.
Well, that's the person they would call. So they don't have to name somebody. They call you the actor because you're acting out. Like you're following them.
Okay.
They leave, you steal their underwear garments or something weird. You know what I mean? Like that's how it starts. I'm sure you guys have seen movies and videos about this stuff. Which at least one of the acts constitutes course of conduct. So like cracking into their email or their text messages, shit like that. You know what I mean? Like hacking their stuff. And reasonable for fear of bodily injury. So you don't even have to like touch them or hurt them. It's fear of bodily injury. It's like, why do we have to live like that? Can't we live in freedom and peace and love? Here's the law. So it always helps to have the law. This is where criminal justice would be a good minor, as it comes in to know statutes and laws. So if the actor's acts cause specific person to suffer emotional distress. So you're like worried, like you lock all your doors, you sleep with a gun under your pillow or whatever, you know. Are guns legal in Ireland? I don't think so. Who did it happen to?
My mom.
Okay, right. So it's very common. It's something to talk about. Was she okay?
Yeah.
I'm a meeting to go to with Miss Goldie.
That's fine.
I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah. We got it on YouTube for you if you need it.
I appreciate it.
We're just finishing chapter 3 and starting chapter 4 today. And paper you can turn in all weekend, I think. New definitions, course of conduct. Is it getting boring yet? Is it not?
But so you said this is punishable by like jail.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. You got, but you,
Trying to lock him up.
what'd you say?
They've been trying to lock him up fast enough.
Right. So that's part of the problem. Yes.
So like, so I've always heard like a lot of stories where like someone will go to the like police about it and they don't do anything because like there's no reason for it. If you just like he's just watching you. So like if I was to go like to the police, would they do something about it unless there's fear of bodily?
They should. I mean, they should.
Okay.
Right. And that's the problem. So it depends on which neighborhood.
College Hill.
So the dude's still out creeping around,
He not still out creeping around, but he free.
That's weird.
like sniffing panties or whatever the weird crap is that he does.
Because at first it was like a stalking.
Right.
And like we tried to go to court and stuff, but he wouldn't show. And they kicked him and those shows like nothing he could do. But it was bad. Like he threw a brick through our window. Like it was bad.
So that is
And he's still free.
because you couldn't prove it, I'm guessing. There's no fingerprints.
It's on camera.
Oh, is it really?
We
So
had
they-
like that because as soon as like it was over a course of time.
Right.
The first time something happened, my mom got cameras put up. So he's on camera stealing the camera. He took the camera.
What?
So did she date him for a minute and then he acted psycho? How long did they date?
Year?
Okay.
Or, no. It was some years.
And then they broke up because he was either alcoholic, drug addict, or just a psycho.
Why is this? I don't know if like that,
Okay.
but yeah. I don't know. She just didn't like him no more.
Right. Right.
But he like it's like she wanted to break up. He didn't.
So she was probably noticing these strange behaviors.
Break up. He didn't.
So she was probably noticing these strange behaviors.
Yeah,
like,
strange
from,
behaviors.
like, okay, right. Usually it's behaviors that cause the breakup. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's
I don't
not
know if
just
it had like any substance.
right.
It was just strange behaviors.
Okay. Right.
Type stuff.
So here is some more of the course of conduct. Approaching, confronting the victim, appearing at the victim's workplace, contacting the victim's employer. They're like
To the job.
all of the above. That is weird. Entering property owned, leased, or occupied by the victim. Contacting the victim by telephone or causing. Oh, I'm sorry. Contacting the victim by telephone or causing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. You can like stop like without even knowing. you're stalked. Like you don't even.
Kind of.
Like, so being stalked or being the stalker?
Not being
Because,
stalked.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of common in our generation.
Which one is it?
Blowing up your phone.
Oh, like, where are you? You need to be here. Why are you out? Where are you at that party? He's there? You drinking? What?
It's like 50 times.
Yeah.
Except, you know.
In a row.
You said that's
Literally.
See?
15 missed calls.
What? To say
yeah. And you said that's punishable by.
Well, it can be, yeah. So talk to our police department. You know what I mean? Like, it's Central has a police department, but so just that way they at least know. And then if it did escalate into weird shit like a brick through the window, there's already something onto weird shit like a brick through the window. There's already something on paper. If you don't put anything on paper, I know that usually we don't like to involve anyone at all because we think we can take care of ourselves, and that's okay. That's a normal human instinct. Like, I'm good. But yeah, you've got class to go to. Like, it's okay to be in class. You don't need to pick up the phone even though they called the 16th time. But we don't know that until we're adults. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they called 16 times. That means I have to pick up the phone, right? And it's like, no, we are free, autonomous people, and you can do what you want. Now, when you're in a relationship, you talk about these things. So dialogue like, hey, dude, I got class with me. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to bed as I wake up for class at 8. Don't effing call me. Don't come pounding on my door. Don't, anyway. Photo through any electronic means monitored for.
So you're telling me texting? I'm the same age as texting. And
Yep.
Wi-Fi.
Yup.
Yeah, I'm a year older than you.
You could have been conceived because of a text.
Ooh.
Don't say that.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just like we pass notes. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let me get your digits. And then if you don't, it's not happening. If you stalk them, you're going to get arrested. You know what I mean? Like you should, and you're right. It's you write up a note and you fold it, and then you flick it. So you fold it up like a football and be like,
Did y'all write letters?
yeah, I still have some from high school. That's all we have, like handwritten shit from like whomever you were interested in. Is that funny? I think it's funny.
It's hard to text that.
I just
Let alone write
be by myself.
Right. Instead of writing, you mean?
it. Yeah.
It is a lot of work, man. Like to get up in them digits, you had to do a lot of work. For real.
How long would the letter take to reach the person?
Oh, if you mailed it, you're saying?
Yeah.
A lot of times we try to hand it to them, but if we were out of town, it would take a few days. I was like hitchhiking around Alaska and I had to call them from the payphone. It was weird. But they were glad I was alive and not dead in Alaska somewhere. So last few things. You sure this isn't boring yet? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a many dimension. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because like the thing about the system is like the more you know, the more you can get out of it. They
Right.
can just be helping. For real.
Right. Well, no, you're right. Because like if they don't have, say what are the dudes' names that are in charge of the police officers? Maybe,
For sure.
yeah, like the deputy or the sheriff. So like chief. So if you don't like tell the chief, we've gotten more women onto the police force in the past several years, so they kind of get it. But it works both ways. So also, here we go. This is what we were saying. Send a material, any means of the victim for the purpose of obtaining information about, disseminating, or communicating with the victim to a member of the family. I mean, it gets detailed. It's not just like, and that's why laws and criminal justice is important and why statutes. I even did half a law school myself, and that was informative. I didn't like law school, but placing objects, it was a lot of reading. I found I was dyslexic in the middle of law school, so that was tough. Placing an object in college, you notice if you suit up and show up and go to class, you're probably going to pass and be okay. You do all the work and you show up, you'll be fine. But in law school, you had to read gallons of material. Like the books are this freaking thick, and they just like.
And you didn't know you just thought that that's how it was for everybody.
I did, yeah. I didn't know my diagnosis until I got that much reading because I always did okay in high school. Got my ass knocked or handed to me. Like, there's software to take over their phone now, right now. Have you heard of that? Somebody will like grab your phone, put an app on it, and then they get control.
I feel like
for
boy,
real.
you gotta be away from your phone for someone to download that app on there.
Right, I agree. They made it better with fingerprints, but in the past, it was easy just to like.
Still got my phone. And like, someone came up with like a way to go into someone's like settings on the phone. And then make it so on their phone, they'll also receive the same
The
messages.
messages.
Yes.
So you gotta like add your they iCloud to like your phone. That is so weird.
Right, and then they'd be like, "You cheating? Like, why do you care anyway?" You know what I mean? Like, if you're not a, what's that? I'm sorry.
An invasion of privacy.
It is, yeah. So that's what this is detailing. This is like all of your shit. Don't touch it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's usually what felonies are. Have you guys ever looked at the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony? Misdemeanors are like when you're maybe, gosh, why am I thinking of an example? Felonies always constitute like messing with property, touching people's shit, hitting them in the face. You know, like, right. Felonies are like property and bodily harm.
So if I steal a candy bar, is it misdemeanor or felony?
Oh, so grand theft is a felony. So it'd have to be a $400 candy bar. And that's why in California, they listed everything in the candy store as a $400 candy bar when they were having theft problems last year.
Oh.
So they labeled it all as $400 candy bars. And when they got broken into and stolen, they finally could convict. Because California came up with a law, you can't go after them if it's less than $400. You had to let them just steal it and walk out.
Is a lot of money.
400?
Because that means you can't go after for a phone.
I know. Well, phones are 1,000 though. I know the acts described, and so it gets a little boring, but we can continue on. We're at least halfway through. Suffers severe emotional distress means to feel terrified. So you don't have to get hit. You can feel scared that you're going to get hit. You know what I mean? Like that's enough because it does cause a physiological dimension of the body. You breathe harder, your heart rate goes up, you release cortisol, you go into the fight or flight, you know, like you hear she's on the property or he's on the property and it scares you, you know what I mean? And that's enough. Means to feel terrified, intimidated, threatened, harassed, or tormented. And those are harder to prove, but obviously it happens. That's why they put it in there. Oh, it's a class 1 felony. So it's usually, and this is obviously to this state that we're talking about. Like this was that case in Wisconsin. So I won't go into all of those, but stalking law continued. Domestic abuse offense means an act of domestic abuse that constitutes a crime. Domestic abuse has the meaning given in 813.12, but like all those different things that they just went through. So they're all felonies, it looks like. I don't think there's any misdemeanor stalking charges. Purpose. So, oh, this one even in the notes here, it says intercept and disclosure of wire, electronic, or oral communications. Prohibited. Use of pen, register, trap, and trace. I don't even know what that stuff is. You guys? Like, I'm thinking tracing them would be like putting that Apple thing in their car and know where they're going and driving around to. So yeah, basically stay off of people, you know, like a relationship is 2 consenting adults. And that's kind of where, and when there is not consent, they're like, can you please, like, I like you as a person. I want you to do well, but I'm working on me now and finishing my college degree. Like that's, you know, I don't know. That's something that felonies. Now we're at 50 done out of 70.
Question.
Yeah.
Can anyone go up to like the place and just get like public records?
I think so.
Can you get your own public records?
Well, yeah, that's why we do background checks. I feel like they do that. Like you just search online. People try to sell it, so you might have to pay some money. But yeah, if it's public information, it's public information.
So how does someone have my public information that they're trying to sell to me?
Probably because it is on public domain of sorts, and maybe it is the city or county that's willing to share it, but they're paying a filing fee or a good question though. I mean, it's a good question. I don't know if I can answer it totally, but I'm trying.
So could like a stalker come up and be like, I need Jordan's public files, and then they would just give it to him if they pay a fee?
But the public files would only be like when you've been arrested, what you've been arrested for.
Okay.
We can't. So FERPA protects your school records,
Uh-huh.
and then HIPAA protects your medical records, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
That's not public information.
So like they can't get like if you've been like admitted to a hospital or like your medical records. Oh, okay.
That's HIPAA violation. And there's all, God, you could spend a whole semester on HIPAA laws. But as social workers, we need to know those because we are bound by the rule of confidentiality. So if somebody called and said, Dr. Trouth, you've been seeing that dude as a client. I saw him go into your office. If I don't have a release of information, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
But if there's a release, like I have a long lost brother that might be looking for me, I don't know. I'm just using a dumb example. Or like parents and child, I'll still try to get a release of information. Or if they're arrested and want to show the courts they've finished counseling, I have them sign a release and I say, yes, courts, they came here. But I'm bound by confidentiality law if they don't have the signed release of information. And that's all social workers. So you just got to be careful. I can talk generically about a client and something that was done, but I can't give any identifying information at all.
Okay.
Technically, if your parents, Central's a one unique place, and I don't know if they get like a release of info signed by your parents, but like FERPA is supposed to have us, only if you guys are okay with it. If you're 18 or above, we share info with your parents.
Yeah, I had to sign a paper saying it was okay.
There you
Share
go.
information with my mom.
I'm glad that they do that because it seems like here I've heard from more parents than I've ever heard.
Keep dogging us here, Loki.
Right. Yeah. How many ways? Like, how do you count the ways?
Every single thing.
Like,
Financially.
oh,
Financially.
well, and that's bullshit because they do that to the professors too.
What?
You
Well, they don't pay. We don't get the money. It's the hhigher ups that get the money. We don't get. We
so you're
get.
just here.
Last year I made $47,500. No, so like we don't. It's not like we get paid a ton. $47,500 for a family of 5 is actually poverty. But I made it to associate professor this year, so I should get to like the 58, and then tenure and promotion. So it's not a ton of money. What'd you say?
I didn't know there were certain levels to a professor.
Then there's full professor, and that base is 70. Hmm?
But how do you have to get to that point?
It takes about 10 years.
Right. Exactly.
It takes about 10 years, and that's the. I mean, I've been a social worker 21 years. I've been teaching part-time 11 or 12, and then full-time 5 or 6 now. And I've been here since 2019. So I brought years with me. So anyway, you see how many laws there are on stalking. I don't know if these are answering your all's questions. This is something you can do as a social worker. I'll show you the place if you were interested. Are you all going to do like an internship here locally?
I don't know because I don't know if I'm messing with Ohio like Loki.
Wait, what are you to?
I think I'm gonna do something in Texas.
Okay, right. That's right. I have to find out with our field internship person. A lot of times they do have you finish. You're finishing your degree here. You're saying you want to do half here and then finish the other. Recruit all the way down in Texas.
So what happened was my mom came here like 30-something years ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then she's friends with like a whole bunch of alum that works here,
Okay,
and so yeah, that's how I got him.
that's good. She works down there in Texas though now too.
Mhm.
Okay. Location. So that's a big deal. There's only like, a half or a third of the college get that accreditation because it's hard to get accreditation and teach like accredited stuff that's pertinent nationally and even internationally. We don't really have international accreditation. But here is your National Domestic Violence Hotline. So if you do have something, they can give you way more information than I just tried to give you guys, because that's what they do. Here is the local one. That's kind of scary, though. This must be like a fake place, because I've always heard they try to hide it. Like they're not just going to give you the address, like you're getting your. I feel like there's another secret location. I feel like this would be like where their offices are, but if it's a shelter, yeah, because that's the Family Violence Prevention Center. I feel like the shelter is what's in a non-disclosed location. So I guess a good stalker could go in and act like they're being stalked by someone else. And what they're,
That's smart. They do be doing
you know what I'm saying?
that. That's smart.
So,
Flip it on the person that they stalked.
right. But that's how they're actually trying to find where the shelter is. Because, well, here you go. Here's 4. Right. But that's how they're actually trying to find where the shelter is. Because, well, here you go. Here's 4 questions about it. Oh, do they take donations? Okay. Sure, they will take them. He should be made to leave or removed from the house. Holy crap. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys kind of the entry-level job social workers do, and this is one of them. You could also be a therapist, and yeah,
I don't think I got time.
you'd rather be like a homeless advocate maybe, or
I think I could be a social worker or like CPS.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you heard of our grant that we got for that, CPS?
No.
So if you do your internship, we just landed this grant. Students do an internship at Child Protective Services, and there's a $5,000 stipend. So Child Protective Services. What day is it? I can't even remember the days.
Thursday.
So it would be next week. I would like to show you guys some of the removed. I always got to do an advertisement of what I'm showing you. That way you at least know. Have any of you ever seen this? I didn't know they had a book. That's exciting. Actually, this has domestic violence.
So you're a woman in the executive.
So there's 3 of these. Oh, I can skip it. So we'll watch this one next week. It's part 1 of this series.
I was supposed to see it.
Ah, thank you.
Sometimes someone hurts you so bad.
It must be on display mode still. Sorry. So it's removed series. Sorry about that. Have you seen these? Okay. So there's 3 parts, but I'll start showing you guys at least one. Child Protective Services.
I gotta do it.
It's sad, but it has a happy ending. That's what makes me feel. You can hear the dude's a dick.
Sometimes someone hurts you so bad.
It kind of does make you cry, though. You're right.
It stops hurting at all.
Have you seen it? It's a 3-part series for foster care and adoption.
Going to for the kid.
Oh, this one you mean? The little girl is? You're right. So you may have seen it.
How could you ever understand where it comes from? Even if you ask.
So with this, and I want to stop it here just because I know we're less than 10 minutes in. It's a really good series, but I want to tease it. I know you can watch it if you want. You can look it up. But there's that, and then there's trauma. So like when you're in that situation and you hear your dad yelling like that, and you're the kid, the physiological effects of your body, like the biology, like you go into fight or flight response, and there it shuts off your your left and right brain stop talking to each other, and you don't develop properly. So we're going to get into trauma a little bit too, and like how the trauma affects you and how it can obviously be recoverable in therapy. So being a therapist to address those things, but at the same time, if unaddressed, can cause challenges. So yeah, there's removed part 1, 2, and 3, and these are the little. You got 5 more minutes you guys can give me? This is trauma specifically, and this is from Harvard. This would,
Everyone in a community has a vested interest in everyone else's children, because everyone else's children determine the next adult population that makes for a successful society. Built into our biology is the need to have responsive interactions with adults.
Neglect for children is when they don't get what the brain is expecting to get, what the child is expecting to get, what we are biologically prepared and waiting for, which is input from those around us.
It's this back and forth serve and return interaction that literally shapes the architecture of the brain.
Serve and return begins when a child looks at something or observes something, makes an utterance, and that represents the serve. And the return is when the parent notices the child doing these things and responds to the child.
Under conditions where serve and return is broken, you literally are pulling away the brain architecture.
A really compelling series of experiments.
you guys ever heard of the still face experiment? Where did you hear about it?
YouTube.
Still
Oh.
face.
Okay, they'll show you right here. Still, like,
Cooing and smiling. And then they ask the mother to basically put on a blank face and not respond.
it's kind of sad.
When a baby is not attended to, that is a sign of danger to the baby biologically. So the stress systems become activated.
In a brain that is constantly bathed in sounds, not that's up and down. that
That's the
comes from
cortisol,
normal
is the stress
development.
hormone.
Certain key synapses, the connections between nerves fail to form, and critical regions of the brain. So neglect both.
What's that?
She just heard her baby braces by doing that.
Yeah, your brain. So she does recover though. If you want to see how she'll recover. Right
Provide
here.
the
Watch it.
stimulation that's needed to develop.
Or I'll show you the whole
architecture.
video where she stops.
And
She
when
does
it's
stop.
at a certain level, is one of the most potent activators of the stress biology of a young child.
So it
So
affects
you get the double whammy.
everything. I would never do that to my
Science
kids.
And explore the environment. And all of those opportunities build brain architecture.
The second category, scientists would call chronic understimulation, is where on a regular basis, children have less interaction with the adults around them than is needed for healthy
That's
development.
Opportunities and more typical levels.
You gotta do this type of shit with your kids. That's
Will show catch up.
The third category is what science would call severe neglect in a family where not only are there prolonged periods of inattention and lack of responsiveness, but often also associated with not being fed enough, not being bathed enough, not having basic needs met.
Neglect is a huge problem in the US. Children are much more likely
Substantial kinds of deficits down the road that don't necessarily get easily fixed or ameliorated. This is where we really need to think about more complicated and often more intensive strategies to help undo those effects.
The fourth category, called early found in institutional settings, is the result of children living in kind of warehouse type.
It can be experiences that are regretfully occurring in many, many parts of our country.
Often institutional care in this country is under the euphemistic name of transitional care or temporary care or assessment facilities.
If you think about what institutional or residential care would look like for an infant, where there's somebody new coming onto the shift every 8 hours, it really alters the development of the child's brain architecture and other aspects of the child's development.
We have the potential to change children's developmental trajectories.
Interventions can apply to parents, to foster parents or adoptive parents, child care settings, Head Start settings, and other kinds of settings. And really, what they're about is attuning people to the serve and return process.
Neglecting young children is neglecting the foundations of a healthy next generation. The community facing problems of the next generation, whether it be educational achievement, economic productivity, the ability to parent the next generation, all of the things that have to do with a healthy, prosperous society.
So that's your quick, we have so much new research on trauma, it's unbelievable. And there's a lot of good stuff about trauma that is helpful for us to understand.